Hello and welcome to episode 64 of Beyond the Finish Line, the podcast for runners of every pace, every distance and every goal. You're chatting with Coach Matt and Georgia, and on today's episode, we are welcoming you to episode 2 of our marathon mini-series, your guide from half to full marathon, helping you to avoid the common mistakes along the way. We're breaking down marathon myths, training for your first marathon, and advanced tips to help you improve your next race, whether that's your first or your fifth. Today is part 2 of our mini-series, which is everything you need to know before your first 42.2. But first, Coach Matt, how are you going?
Georgia, it's been a rough few days, mate.
Guys,
we're in the hurt locker.
Yeah, Matt and I are sick as dogs right now.
Yeah.
But we are rallying because there's just so many people waiting
The
for this
mini-series
episode.
must live on. It must go ahead.
It must.
It is bigger than us.
It is bigger than us. And so many people have said they are so excited for this mini-series. And we briefly went, do we cancel because we both sound terrible, or do we press on? And we have pressed on. So forgive us if we sound funny.
I think it just needed to be done. I think even if we put it off till tomorrow to record, which sometimes we do a Tuesday night recording, I think we still would have sounded the same. So
yeah,
drug ourselves up to the eyeballs and get into it.
Yeah,
for codeine and paracetamol.
I know, and unfortunately I can only have Panadol, but I do feel like by tomorrow I'm probably going to be worse. So I think this is the best call to make.
Yeah.
Anyway, going downhill fast. So we're going to get through this amazing episode we have here, which is our part 2. I'm so excited for this one because this is my favorite subject to talk about, which is beginner marathons. So
Yeah. It's your bread and butter.
It is my bread and butter. But before we get into that, let's do our highs and lows for the week. Matt, besides having a cold, talk to us. What is your high and low for the week?
Highs, we just came back from Katoomba, so Blue Mountains, where the UTA is going to be held, where I'll be running in 26-something days.
Yeah.
We just did a performance project training camp. So we had 8 athletes down there, all different distances, 22 through to the 100. Did a whole bunch of training, bunch of like team dinners and stuff like that. Had an awesome time. It was so good. That being said, I think it went Friday to Sunday, and of course Thursday afternoon I was like, I don't feel so good. And so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think I went through like 3 packs of cold and flu medicine, like 4 boxes of Strepsils, and I had to like run 70 Ks with all of our super fit, healthy athletes and put a smile on my face and host and everything. So while it was a huge high, it was fucking hard. I was struggling. I was fucking hard yakka. So I was hurting. So that's my high and low all in one.
The content from training camp, I have to admit, looked incredible, and I was so incredibly jealous. I was just like, far out. Jimmy has just stepped it up again. You guys looked awesome. We had, some of our obviously our athletes were there, plus some great content of you, Matt. But I think it is a big weekend to not feel well, especially when you're out in the bush, and it's just not quite the same as just running on a road. So
it was hard.
Yeah. But it sounds like you guys had fun, and as you said, you guys did lots of training, like dinners and stuff like that as well, which is always really nice. But yes, Megan, our head of ops, went down to the training camp, and she did say to me, she was like, look, I think Matt is really sick, so just pre-warning you, he might not reply to you for a couple of days.
I got home, I slept for like 14 hours.
Oh my gosh.
I was fucking roasted. And it's like, this is like, we'll go away from the business highs and lows into a personal highs and lows. Everyone who's been listening knows I've been really struggling through this prep. Normally when we do a training camp, even if I'm not doing the race that training camp is associated with, I leave so ramped up, so ready. I'm like, I can't wait to race. I'm so excited. I left that camp. The coach part of me was so pumped because like all the athletes were super confident, had the best time. They're like, yeah, we're ready to go. I couldn't have been more opposite. I was like, I am so close to quitting this prep. I'm so close to pulling out of this race. So I'm in the hurt locker.
Curious, at what point does quitting at what point does quitting, turn into I'm actually pulling out for reasons beyond just not having the motivation, Like, I
I'm
feel like
I'm
quitting
really
is 'cause
struggling with it.
yeah.
I'm really
'Cause
struggling with that definition.
I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I think a lot of the time quitting is because you lack, motivation and discipline, right? And I just feel like at what point does it then become, okay, I'm actually not quitting for those reasons. I'm quitting because I know in my heart that I'm not actually ready. My body's not ready, and this is probably going to do more, damage than it is good.
Yeah, I've been really debating that and like trying to find like a clear definition, because I was also thinking back to our conversation about how I said like it doesn't need to be fun.
Yeah.
There's probably like just it's not super clear definition on terms and things, and I've kind of made the decision. I'm going to do a 45k race this weekend in Katoomba, so it's actually on the course. It's just like a middle section of the 100. I don't care how I run. I don't care if I walk the whole thing. I don't care if I come dead last. But if I don't have fun, I'm not going to do the 100. That's kind of like my thing. Like trail running for me is fun. It's like my Ironman for me is not fun. Like that is something I'm working at and I'm trying to race at. Trail running is like my happy space. So if I can't go out there and run 45Ks, come dead last and have an absolute blast, then I'm probably not in the right headspace or physical space to do 100Ks. So that's my line in the sand.
Okay, so that's this weekend coming, which means by next recording, you'll probably have a little bit more of an idea.
Yeah, well, I'm just by Sunday night. By next time we record, I will have a line in the sand. I'm not going to continue to play this game.
Yep, amazing. Well, watch this space, guys. Let's see what Coach Matt comes to the decision of.
Yeah, I'll probably race, but
no. What would you tell your athletes? That's what I feel like you need to be told.
It's so hard to like. This is where self-coaching gets so difficult. Like, it's just, there's so much context and you always doubt yourself, and you always like, it's hard to make tough decisions yourself. Like, it's very difficult. So I can't take that approach with myself. I feel I outsmart myself. Because for whatever answer Coach Matt says, athlete Matt says, nope, and this is why, and vice versa. So, I need to have like a penny drop line in the sand moment, which will be like 45Ks is no joke, nearly 3,000 meters of climbing on the trail. Like if I get through that and I'm just like, that was the fucking worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to want to do 100 there.
No.
If I get through it and I'm like, that was all right. Like I got through that. I felt fit. I felt reasonably confident. I'm like, cool, I can go do 100. So that's kind of how I'm weighing it up.
Wild.
I'm just a boy. That was all the girls like Cam. They said, I'm just a girl, and I'm like, now I'm just like, I'm just a boy. Fuck it.
I love it.
What about you, G?
Look, no real highs and lows this week. I'm just cruising, to be honest. Obviously not feeling amazing today. I can feel myself heading downhill really fast, which is fine. Push through. I'm taking it pretty easy this week. Got physio and Pilates pretty much. But next week I'm going on holidays, which I'm so excited for. I know we're headed up to Noosa for a week, which will be amazing. I used to go to Noosa as a child just on family holidays, and I'm really excited to head back up there with Nick and, kind of start making our own little family memories, which will be really sweet. So I'm excited for that. It's kind of getting me through this sickness and this week, knowing that I've got a week of relaxation headed my way. And, there's a national park up there, so I'm going to do the trail up there and hopefully get up to Hell's Gate and see that and do all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, that's kind of it. Other than that, just, a couple of good runs in the bank and feeling good. So I can't really ask for more than that.
How good.
Which is always good. Yeah. But
simple things, though.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to take on, just before we get into the main part of this episode, I wanted to take on, did you see, doing the rounds on social media, the Nike ad that was posted around Boston over the weekend, which said, runners welcome, walkers tolerated? I'd love to know your thoughts on this, because I obviously have a very strong opinion.
Yeah, I haven't seen I've seen the ad. Like I've seen people post it and comment on, but I haven't seen any context into which like the ad was posted, and like I don't know anything about the actual ad. It's kind of like was going off while we were doing a bunch of trail running, so I wasn't really on socials. So I don't know if there's like underlying context or underlying tones to it, or it was positioned around elite run. I don't know the whole story in the ad. So
Yeah.
at face value, I'm like, that's a miss, Nike. Like, your whole thing is just do it no matter who you are. Whereas if it's around something to do specifically with Boston, which is the elite of the elite, I'm like, I still think it's a miss, but like I probably understand a little bit more the angle that they're coming from.
Yeah. So there wasn't too much else other than the ad. So when we did London, there were so many incredible like ads all over the city that were done by Nike. Like they pretty much took up an entire corner of Oxford Circus with incredible messaging that was like super empowering. They had a whole pop-up on the opposite corner. Like they basically took over the whole city. And even for Sydney Marathon, like it wasn't even their marathon, and they had done some incredible messaging around the city about, you know, marathon and all these amazing things. And I remember people posting them being like, wow, how inspiring. And I understand with Boston that, you know, you have to qualify, and it is the elite of the elite. Like that is the dream race for most marathon runners, is to qualify for Boston. But they pretty much just posted it and then took it down when the backlash started. And I feel as though if they had a longer game with this, that it was meant to say something else long term, like it was followed up with something else. Like, why take it down and apologize? Why not be like, actually, this is what we really mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just a bit like, oh, like Boston isn't just elite runners. Like there is a very big percentage of charity runners, and they raise millions every year. And a lot of those charity runners walk. So, yeah, I don't know. It's that funny with me. I didn't really want to post anything about it. I do feel like they missed the mark. I don't feel like they were intentionally trying to really hurt people. But I do also think that Nike's pretty smart and they know what they're doing. So, yeah, I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, and then like I always think about some of these big companies that how much of it is just like, let's just create something controversial to go viral and then get rid of it. So like we're talking about Nike now, where we wouldn't normally talk about Nike, and you know, how much of it is that? So
yeah,
do they just come up with something controversial? Maybe. It just seems so off brand, because Nike's whole just do it is to empower everyone to just do it, whether you are a walker or you are LeBron James or Michael Jordan or anyone in between. Like that's their whole thing. So something is fishy with that if they haven't come out and said, this is like what you said, Jordan, this is what we actually meant by that.
Yeah. Well, they followed up with an ad after it. I should have. All I'm seeing is the runners. Oh, here it is. I've just found it. Sorry. So yeah, the initial ad was runners welcome, walkers tolerated, which obviously went super viral, which is their intention. Like they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then they updated it with the same window. So they changed the ad that said, Boston will always remind you that movement is what matters. And I'm just like, I feel like we could have got this messaging another way. There's just.
Was that the follow-up ad? Because that like doesn't really make. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, they took it down, apologized, said, you know, we never intended to upset people, basically. And then the follow-up ad that was posted overnight, I think it was probably Sunday Boston time, was Boston will always remind you movement is what matters. And then it says Nike Run. And I'm a bit like, what? Makes no sense. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much stuff online about this. It's super interesting, guys. If you haven't seen it, jump online and read some of the hot takes on it again. Yeah, like there's just, yeah, I was disappointed, but what do you do? They've got what they wanted and people are talking about it.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say on it.
Don't worry, guys. We will happily say you can walk if you need to, and, you know, go back and listen to last week's episode. We spoke all about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally. Anyway, let's jump into part 2 of our mini-series, which is everything you need to know before your first 42.2. I want to start this segment by asking you, Matt, what is the biggest thing that people underestimate about their first marathon?
I think the amount of work that is needed to prepare for a marathon.
Yeah, I agree.
I think people see the classic, like they see the glorified version of it on social media, or they read some training plans, or they watch a few YouTube videos, and they're like, it's almost romanticized, and like, I can't wait to be in the Hurt Locker and train really hard and do all these things. And then when they're 12 weeks in, 15 weeks in, they're like, all right, I'm skipping this run, or I'm doing this, and they're like, it's like, this is what you signed up for. Like, I always come back to, this is what hard feels like. Like, did you not think it would be hard? Like, this is what hard feels like. You want the results, you want to do the thing. This is what you're in for.
Lock in. Because, I think people do really underestimate the time that you have to set aside for a marathon, because it truly does take
time
over.
would be the second biggest one. Yeah,
because, and I remember when I first signed up for my first marathon, a friend of mine, I kind of asked her, she'd just run her first, and I was like, talk to me about it. Like, what did you think? Do you think I should do it? I'm a little bit nervous. And she was like, honestly, if you are happy to give away any form of your social life and just kind of say goodbye to any sort of commitments for 18 weeks, do it. Like, it's great. But if you want to be able to still commit to lots of things on the weekends, it's very hard to do a marathon training block. I've gotten very good at knowing what I can commit to and what I can't, and knowing, like, Sunday mornings until at least midday are taken by training, and then I can do stuff afterwards. But I think people underestimate how much dedication and time you have to set aside. Like, even in the mornings, doing 15K on a Monday morning before work, like, some people wouldn't really know what that is like.
Yeah, and I think time is, especially as a true beginner, because you don't have your routines, you don't know where you're running, you might not have your routes mapped out, everything. Cool, it's a 2-hour long run. It's probably going to take you 4 by the time you like work out your breakfast, drive to the place, work out the route, and then like doing all the things. Like, you got to make mistakes. Like, everything just takes longer. Obviously, the more you do it, the more efficient you get. You just get into routine. But time would be my second biggest commitment for sure. The second thing people misinterpret.
Yeah, and the long runs, like, they're not just 2 hours, especially if you live in somewhere like Sydney, like you said. It's like, it's the traffic lights and stuff people don't realise adds up as well, and the working out where you're going, or if you're kind of like, oh shit, wait, which way do I go? You've got to kind of stop for a second,
takes
work
2.5 hours,
Yeah, your elapsed time is always so much longer. What's one takeaway from your first marathon that's always stuck with you?
Well, interestingly enough, I've still never run a road marathon. All of my marathons have been Ironman marathons. So I'm actually going to run my first marathon on the Gold Coast.
Okay. So we'll have probably a better idea of what that's like, because it's very different, I think, to the Ironman.
Hugely different. But at the same time, I'm not really going to train for Gold Coast. I'm just going to kind of piggyback off UTA. So, like, I'm not doing like a pure marathon block, because I'm only going to have like 6 weeks of training. But I running a marathon isn't that bad for me. Sorry, what was the question?
I was going to say, what was a takeaway from your first marathon that stuck with you? Okay. But I feel like that could be a question that we re-ask you in a little bit of time when you've done a proper, just pure marathon race.
We can definitely re-ask it, but I would say my answer probably wouldn't change, because endurance is endurance. I think it is just when you hit that wall, and so for some people it's at 28, 32, if you're doing longer distances, 40, 50, or however far into a race, it is your ability to like get through that. And when the first time you hit that wall, that 1, 2, 4, 5 kilometers, however long it is just eternity. It is and the head noise is so loud, and you want to walk, and everything is telling you to quit. And it is everything you see in, when we say those romanticized bits of content, right? It is everything you see in that compiled into 20 minutes, and 20 minutes out of your 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, however long it takes you. And it's just tough. You just got to get through that. If you get through that, you're like on the home stretch and you're done. And I still remember in my Ironman, I was like, 30 odd Ks in. I'm like, oh my God, I've got 10 Ks to go. This is the worst. And then all of a sudden it was like, I've got 6. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm on the home stretch. We're here. Like, my mum can run a 5K. Like, I'm good as gold. So,
it's the park run.
yeah. Yeah, it's exactly that. So for me, it was just dealing with that wall.
Yeah, I agree. It is a lot more than people realize, that last 10K. It's most people say, like, you know, the marathon starts at 30 kilometers. And so I do think that is very true. But yeah, look, my biggest takeaway from my first ever marathon was just, I'm so happy that I just did it for fun and I enjoyed every minute. And you know, you only get one first marathon, and, you know, if you can and if you are lucky enough to have family and friends who can come and watch you, I highly recommend, you know, being a little bit selfish and saying, please come and watch me, please support me throughout the race, because, you know, I had people throughout the whole course, and I think that is really helpful when you are in the hurt locker, that you can actually just, you know, you're waiting for the moment where you see the people you know are going to be there. Like, okay, I'm at 25 kilometers. I know at 28 I'm going to see my family. So that kind of gets you through those little moments that are really tough. So yeah, like, you know, Gold Coast, I knew I had family and friends at different kilometer markers. And so I really pushed myself to get to those kilometer markers, which is really helpful. But if you can't have people be at the race, and you're just kind of running for fun, and I don't know, this is probably not great, that Matt's going to probably kill me for this one. But another thing I did in my first marathon was I actually called my partner, Nick, and he talked me through the minute where I was really struggling. And he, you know, was like, it's okay, you've got this. And like, he kind of gave me that motivation, even though I couldn't see him at that point on the course. So, you know, if you can't have people come visit you at the race, like, calling someone is, I think, a really good way to get through that.
I've definitely received calls from athletes mid-race.
Mid-race.
Mid-race,
Oh
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I don't think I've called you. I don't think I've called you mid-race, so the girls win that one.
I've had, multiple athletes call me as early as like 7Ks in and be like,
right,
it's all going wrong.
I love that. Like, well, you're just that kind of person.
Got to do what you got to do, mate.
We know we can call you when we need you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, what makes a marathon different to a half marathon? And I know a lot of people, you know, kind of do their first half, or they do a couple of halves and then they go, all right, I'm going to do the marathon. Like, that's kind of the next step. What would you say is a key difference between the two, besides obviously distance?
Yeah, I'll circle back to my first one. It's just the amount of work. You go like, all right, I'm going to go from 21 to 42, and I'm going to do just double the training, right? But it's not just double the training, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of training, and it's longer, and the conditioning pieces take longer, and it's so much more of a science. Like, the majority of people, and please, for newer runners, don't take this the wrong way, you can kind of bullshit your way through a half marathon. You can be somewhat aerobically fit and just whack on some shoes and grit your teeth and run through 21 kilometers. Like, there might be some walking in there. It might suck, it might hurt, but like, you can do it. It'll take you a couple of hours. You can't do that with a marathon. Like, you can't bullshit your way through it. So I'd say it's just like, there's a lot more on the line, and it's just the amount of training is exponentially more, and you've got to take it so much more serious, and everything needs to be dialed. Like, your nutrition, your race routine, like you have to have gone over, cross every T and dot every I, like to prepare for a marathon. So yeah, I'll just circle back to that first answer.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, you know, as you said, nutrition, fueling is a big one, because fueling for your first half, like for a marathon, is so different to fueling for a half marathon. You know, throughout a half marathon, you can kind of get away with a few gels, or like, I would never
get away with a big breakfast.
Yeah, and I would never like say to someone, do that. Like, you know, that's not my point of view. I think as Matt said, you can get away with it, whereas in a marathon, you cannot get away with that. You will not get through the race. You need to be so specific and so strategic with your fueling and practicing that for the entire block. I also think there's a lot on, you have to practice your mindset and learning how to take control of those thoughts that can kind of come through when shit gets really hard. You know, when a half marathon can be 2 or 3 hours, and then you can kind of grit your teeth and bear it, whereas a marathon could be 4, or it could be 7, or it could be longer. Like, it's a very long time to not be prepared. So yeah, I agree with you, Matt. A lot of those things are very similar, and I think that just means that, you know, we're both very conditioned to the marathon.
Absolutely.
How long does someone realistically need to train for their first marathon? So not their second or third, but as a beginner marathon, what would you say is a realistic amount of time?
Are they starting from absolute zero?
We are starting from, this is first marathon we've done. We've done our half marathons. We feel like we're ready, mind, body, soul, ready for the marathon. What would you say is I know we've spoken before about that 16-week mark, but do you think realistically it's probably better for a longer block?
I'm always an advocate for more time as a coach. Like, if we go okay, let's take a 16-week block, 2 weeks straight away gone for taper. You're going to lose probably 3 weeks of that to deload as well. So we're at 5. So now we're only at 11 weeks of training. And then the chance of you being 100% perfect for those 11 weeks, probably not. So we'll probably lose an additional 4 or 5 runs there. So now we've only actually got 10 weeks of training. So you just see like that, like we've gone from 16 to 10. So if we could have 20, if we could have 24, like awesome. I'd probably say 20 for a beginner athlete. It's really, really hard to stay focused and disciplined. This is where like the sort of coaching balancing act comes in, where if you go, okay, cool, Sydney Marathon prep start. We're about 20 weeks out from Sydney Marathon. So I went to my athlete, Sydney Marathon prep starts today. It's a long time, like basically the end of April, start of May. Got to stay focused till August, like end of August. It's a long time to like put everything on your life on hold and be locked into this mindset. So this is where you got to sort of learn your athlete as well. But 16 to 20 weeks, I think is good because I always use the term, it builds in room for fuckery. So if you get injured, if the kids get sick, if something happens at work or whatever, you just have wriggle room to like have a shit week here and something come up here and that happened there, and you're not too far off track. So 20 weeks with probably 4 to 5 weeks of 75% attention to detail, and then sort of that 16 to 12 weeks of just absolute locked in.
Okay. And it's so interesting that you talk about, being focused for that amount of time, because it's not something I would have thought of, but I think that is really important. It's a long time to be focused on something. So, make a great point there, of course. And what kind of base would you say that people should have before they do a marathon? So I know in that scenario, just before we said, they've done some half marathons and they think that they're ready for the full. Do you think there is a prerequisite that people should have done before they do a full, or is it really hard to kind of say?
I don't think they have to have run a half marathon like race beforehand. The general rule of thumb we have at the Performance Project is like you need to be able to run sort of 18 to 21 Ks like as your long run. So like just going out on a Sunday, not like it's no special day. Just put your shoes on, have brekkie, go for a run. And you should be able to rack out 18 to 20 Ks and it be not this huge taxing effort. That's sort of like our minimum standard. Obviously, then if we start talking about performance numbers and things, that changes. But yeah.
Yeah. And look, this is purely just off minimum standard. There's no real need for performance at this stage because this is, first marathons.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I like that. That's good. 4 pillars of marathon training for beginners. I have here that the 4 key elements of marathon training are your easy runs, your long runs, your tempo sessions, and your race pace sessions. Do you think there's other things that people need to add in there?
Well, I would say tempo and race pace are the same thing when we talk about the marathon. So that's your zone 3. And the other pillar I would add would be nutrition. So nutrition, like in triathlon, we call it the 4th discipline. So I would make that our fourth pillar of marathon training.
Okay, I think I meant to say interval sessions, not race pace.
Yeah, I think you meant to say speed sessions. Yeah.
Speed sessions. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So was not well when I wrote this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I like that. The 4th pillar of discipline is your nutrition, which we are going to get to, guys. But before we get to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about recovery and strength training. So what kind of strength training should people be doing, and how often when they start doing a marathon training block?
Yeah, so I'll just say the way we sort of prescribe it at the Performance Project is first we'll just take an assessment of the athlete. Are they someone who is comfortable in the gym? Are they someone who can squat, deadlift, overhead press? Are they comfortable in the gym? Do they come from any sort of strength background? Or are they maybe a mum who is intimidated of going into the gym? She's not comfortable in the weight room. She's got a few kettlebells at home, or maybe she's time poor or something like that, and she just wants to do some at-home stuff. So we'll just sort of identify the scale of where they're comfortable and then build a program around that. Generally speaking, we're happy with 2 days a week, whether that is the at-home all the way up to like the gym bro. And if we can get a third in, that's awesome. If we can get a fourth in for the people who absolutely love it, we will do that. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but we'll try and do 2 to 3 sessions. And realistically, we're trying to peak our gym work probably 3 to 4 weeks before we peak in running. So then we sort of start tapering down gym work. So the gym work is at its lowest when we're peaking in running, and then there's no strength training during a taper for us.
Yes, that is a big one. And I see a lot of people still strength training, and that's something I would have done in the past, but I quite enjoy taking that time off the gym in the last couple of weeks to keep the legs nice and fresh.
It's pretty universal. It takes sort of 10 to 14 days to clear any micro tears and bio waste and things that accumulate from strength training. A taper traditionally is 10 days. So, we just sort of make it really easy and say 2 to 3 weeks out, there's no strength training at all.
Okay, cool. And speaking of like clearing out any of that stuff and tapering and all of that, what do you think are the most important recovery methods, and what's your personal favorite?
Sleep, eat, hydrate. They're the absolute kings. Like, don't waste money on Theraguns, don't waste money on recovery boots, ice baths, any of that shit if you're not sleeping, eating, and hydrating. Assuming that our athletes are doing that, my next favorite is just like consistent mobility. So I just use the Go What app personally, and I like refer that to all of our athletes. I think just 15 to 20 minutes anytime during the day is fantastic. Doesn't have to be pre or post run. After that, I would then go recovery boots with the caveat that we're using them consistently. I'm a big proponent of that. Like, if you just use it after the long run, you're not going to get you're not going to get the benefits. You need to use them day in,
every
day
single
out,
day.
just constantly cleaning out your legs. Then we're getting into things like massage. I think like having a really good massage therapist or physio that you can go to, fantastic. Then after that, we're going into sauna, which I would rank sauna higher than ice bath, just with the studies in terms of sleep recovery. Sauna is quite beneficial. Then I would go massage gun, foam rollers, lacrosse balls, the bands, things of that nature. And then I would go ice bath. I think ice bath's actually like, I know there's heaps of studies on it, but like just for me personally and just what I've seen with all the athletes we've coached, ice bath has been like the least beneficial in terms of trackable metrics. I think it's more of a perceived you feel better versus like we can actually see performance benefits.
I feel like also you could probably get a very similar perceived benefit from having a cold shower in the morning, and it's free.
I'm assuming so, yeah. Haven't tested it.
Also, I think the ice bath thing, like, there's a lot of studies now on like how they affect women differently to men and stuff like that. So, it is very interesting. But I do like how you have ranked all of those different things. And I was going to ask you, even if if money didn't matter, what would be your favorite? But you have said the boots would be your favorite in that category. Just can you jump back really quickly? You said there was an app. Was it Go? I just want you to, in case someone didn't catch it, what was the app called again? GoWOD.
So GOWOD.
Amazing. GoWOD. Yeah. Amazing. Love it. I'm going to chuck one in there and say that I have really been enjoying Pilates, and I do think that Pilates would have been super, super beneficial for me in marathon training. There's a lot of stuff that I've been doing in Pilates that I'm like, oh, this would have been so much better than me going to the gym and fucking around for an hour. So,
for sure.
if you have the the means to get to a Pilates class, because I feel like you push yourself a little bit more in a class than you do at home. I never did Pilates because there was not a place near me I could go to, and I'm terrible at home with that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think Pilates is a really good one. I also loved the boots too, but yeah, you have to use them every day.
Yeah, and I'm actually a huge fan of Pilates. Any of the, I notice it more in our female clients, but any of our female clients who say, "Can I keep doing Pilates?" I'm like, do Pilates as much as you want. Like, it is phenomenal. Core strength, leg strength, glute strength. Like, are you going to build muscle doing it? Probably not. But are all the movements in Pilates like very, very beneficial to running? Like, weirdly, yes, there's like a surprisingly good correlation. So if you are not a gym goer and you don't want to do that, but you do want to do strength training, I'd say Pilates is like a fantastic alternative.
Oh, incredibly. And a lot of stuff like with running is single leg based. And so, you know, I think with the Pilates, like for example, today I did a session this morning, and a lot of it was single leg focus. So it was, you know, a split squat into like you lift your leg behind your back, you're balancing on one leg, and then you're coming through with like a knee drive. And so all of that movement, my ankles, I was like, my ankles like mobility is horrendous. And I was like, this would have been so much better for stability around my ankles and all of that sort of stuff during marathon training. And so, you know, even if you are going in and only using a 2-kilo weight just to kind of add a little bit of extra to your sessions for that strength stuff, I just was like, holy moly, this is so much harder than a lot of the stuff I've done at the gym. So definitely give that a go. I also really want to quickly jump on what you were saying about having a physio. I've had a sports therapist. He's more of a chiropractor, but he has also done physiotherapy. And so he has helped me out over the last couple of years. And even just routinely seeing him once a month has been so incredible. He really has helped me with like the dry needling and stuff like that. So if you can allocate those funds and you want to, like that's also, yeah, a thing I really recommend. Okay, moving forward to, we have the beginner marathon mistakes that you might be making. What do you think are the biggest beginner mistakes people, you know, do in their first ever training block for a marathon?
I think the first one is like go from 0 to marathon. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
They go, yep, signing up for Sydney. It's 20 weeks away. Like, let's start training. You're like, all right, it's going to be a rough 20 weeks. For the people who did put in some base building work and like started running, you know, when they found out they got in, I would say not getting, and I don't want this to sound biased, but like not getting a coach. Like, I think for your first one, if you're going to get one for anyone, it should be your first one. So at least then you know the do's and don'ts, just someone to walk you through and be like, this is right, this is wrong. We're setting you up for success. And then after that first one, if you're like, cool, I kind of get it, I can probably program my own, go for it. But I think like not getting a coach is a big one. And then again, circling back to like the very, very first one was just not allocating the time and the attention to detail, like to get the amount of work in that is required. I think they're probably my 3 key pillars of like beginner mistakes.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm kind of glad because they're different to what I was going to say.
Good.
My first one was, I've done 2 here. My first one was doing too much too soon. Kind of, if you didn't have a coach, kind of getting out there and doing your long runs too fast. So not in terms of speed, but you know, you're trying to jump from your 21 and then you're like, I'm going to go do a 25 and then I'm going to go do a 30 because I want to prove I can do it. Like not trusting the program and actually just trying to jump ahead too quickly. I think that leads to burnout really quickly. I was also, I'd also written down that you kind of aren't taking your easy runs seriously because you kind of want to you want to look good on Strava. So you don't want to seem like you're running slow. So you're not taking your zone training seriously, which comes back to a lot of the stuff that we always talk about here and, you know, our zone 2 and how important that is. And I do think people fail at, you know, taking those as serious as they should do. So yeah, that was
I agree with all those. I think I think the easy run's a fantastic one as well. Not if you don't have someone to set up your zones correctly. I think we've got a mad overlap. I think if we don't have someone to set up your zones correctly, you don't take the time to do that, then like all of your zone training is going to be out. So then you don't know what's easy, set yourself up for injuries down the road.
I agree fully. I love that. So, really important. There's 5 really important things there that you can think about, guys. All right, number 6 I've got here is fueling. And this is a big thing that I think people don't take seriously enough. And I'm sure Matt will agree with me here. So I think the key things, obviously, with fueling is, I know this is something that I have always practiced, something Matt has always drilled into me, is not practicing your fueling on long runs and not learning how to fuel correctly as well.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's the 4th discipline, right? Like it is as important as all of your training, because if you do not train your nutrition, it might have been question 2, like you can't bullshit your way through it. Like you will, if you do not get your nutrition right, like you are not finishing that race. It's like, it's just another thing to add to the list. Like I can't stress enough how important practicing, refining, if something goes wrong, working out what goes wrong, taking the time to actually I could have 2 gels an hour and I had no stomach problems, but then I went to 3 gels an hour and I had stomach problems. Cool. Like, is it a carbohydrate issue? Is it a sodium issue? Is it a fluid issue? Is it the type of gel I'm taking? Should I be having gels and having something different? Or there's just so many things you need to test, and you can't just wing it on race day. Like you have 16, 18, 20 weeks to every long run, test, refine it. So then on race day, it's just subconscious. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. We always say nothing new on race day. So you should have really, really practiced your fueling, and that, and that does come down to even the brand of gels. Like, don't go and test it. Like, don't go and have gels just because your friends are having them. Like, sure, trial them. If they work for you, amazing. If they don't, that's not right for you. Maybe you want to jump across to some more whole foods for your nutrition. As Matt has always said, making sure you're practicing what you're going to eat the morning of race day for all of your long runs as well. We speak about this so much, like how, like, different types of fueling and stuff like that. And I do really believe in that, this is the 4th discipline, because one bad gel can completely ruin an entire race. And I've seen that so many times with friends, with Nick. Like, you could have something that's out of the ordinary, like a coarse gel, and it can completely derail your entire race. So, really
a prime example is shout out Ash. She's literally, she's a few hours out from running Boston Marathon right now. She sent me 2 photos just this morning, and she was like, which nutrition do you want me to run with? And one of them had the Goo brand in it. And I am just like, absolutely not. Do not touch that. Stay away from it. Like, we've practiced without that. Don't go near it. So pick this other one. And so that's what I was like, one bad gel, like one gel could change your whole race. It is that delicate. It's like a delicate ecosystem in your stomach while you're running, and it's under stress. So like, it needs to be familiar with what's going on.
Oh, totally. And this happened to Nick at London Marathon, and I had told him so many times, Nick, nothing new on race day. And he was like, yeah. But he just, I don't know, for whatever reason, didn't have the correct gel on him, and he decided to have like a Lucasade drink on course at 15 kilometers. And guys, I'm not even joking you when I say from 15 to 42 kilometers, he was in so much pain in his stomach. He couldn't stomach any of the gels that he had packed. And so we were relying on whole foods on the side of the course that people were handing out. So like oranges, not that lollies are whole foods, but like lollies, like anything we could possibly find on the side of the course that people were handing out, he had to try and stomach that. But that was literally all from having a gel he'd never had before on course. And I was like, you're an idiot. So never again. So take it from us, guys. It is really serious. So make sure you practice it. I'm curious to know, like, how did you start using gels? Did you just jump like head first and just go out on a run and just like raw dog it, start taking some that you knew were decent, or?
Yeah, so anyone who knows my story knows I just signed up for an Ironman, had like 3 or 4 months to train and just like got to work this out. So, and this is how my hatred for, sorry, Goo, you're not going to be sponsoring us anytime soon, but my hatred for Goo gels started was I just went down to Rebel and was like, yo, what's a gel? And they're like, we have this wall of Goo gels. And I'm like, oh, birthday cake, chocolate fudge. Like, this all sounds great. And I just started that and bottles of Powerade just off the shelf and just started smashing it. And just, I mean, I'm probably an outlier being an ex-chef that I have an iron stomach. Like, I've eaten a lot of questionable things in my life. So I didn't ever get too sick, but I also knew like this is probably not advantageous to performance. So mine was just a refinement process. Now, like if I do use gels, I pretty much use either Precision or Morton. Actually, I've almost never used Morton. I almost always use Precision. And that's only for Ironman. And like now for like ultras, I'll use a lot of whole foods. So yeah, it's really just trial and error, guys. Like if you go through your whole first prep and you like use those Goo gels, for example, or you use a brand that maybe in 5 years' time you look back and go, oh, I probably shouldn't have used that. Like that's just part of it. Like it's okay to make mistakes. Like that's, as long as you are learning from it, it's all good.
Yeah, totally. I've been in the Goo Hurt Locker before and they're disgusting. They're just so thick and like viscous.
It's like custard with corn flour in it.
Well, I was only ever having the fruity ones. I never had the cake ones or the chocolate I'd had before.
Chocolate fudge or whatever it is. Yeah. Peanut butter. Yeah.
Horrendous. But,
then you leave them out in the sun for 4 hours on a bike.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah. Delightful.
No, thank you. Look, my favorites are Pure Sports Nutrition, which is basically just drinking juice. Love those. Although I have had one really bad flavor with them, which was like apple pie, and I literally spewed instantly
I like the
after.
apple pie.
Not the apple and cinnamon. Now, don't get me wrong. They are two totally different gels, and you would think they were the same thing. Apple pie. No, apple pie is horrendous. Apple cinnamon, delightful. It's like apples, like European apple cider. Yes, apple cinnamon.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. It's like apple juice with a little hint of cinnamon. Apple pie, horrendous. Don't ever, guys. I'm telling you now, don't ever have it. And I love Morton. I like the consistency of Morton. I like that you can kind of chew it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then recently in my last training block, someone suggested the Science in Sports strawberry and lime, and I really got into those because they were more carbs and bit easier for my body to ingest. So highly recommend.
Yeah, they're isotonic, so they're really like palatable.
Yeah, and I know we hang shit on Goo, guys, but a lot of the things that I don't like about Goo is that they're made up a lot of canola oil in them. If you actually look at the raw ingredients of the gel, and if there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't like or you don't know, I would not recommend having them when you're training for an endurance
Same with
sport.
winners.
Yeah, so there's a lot of crap in those. So just, be mindful of what you're putting into your body, especially when you're training so hard. All right, jumping on to our next one, which is pacing. What's some pacing advice that you have for our beginner marathon runners?
Consistency.
Yep.
No neg splits, no pace. You don't even need a pacing strategy for your first one. You just need to go out and run it. I would and shout out Nike if you're walking out. I would recommend walking the aid stations for your first one. I would break it up into 5 kilometer blocks or whatever the aid station spacing is and just be like, cool, every time I get to an aid station, I'm going to force myself to have a gel. I'm going to have a cup of water or a cup of electrolytes or whatever. Deep breath, next 5Ks. Repeat. And I would try and make every one of those 5K blocks as consistent as humanly possible. And that's it.
Damn, love that. Say it louder for the people in the back. Walk the aid stations if you need to. It's so good.
Absolutely.
Such a good hack.
Yeah.
I've done that before. So much fun.
It's such a good mental reset. Like I still do that in Ironman now. Like an Ironman every 2 kilometers on the run. I'm like, cool. I've got 22K intervals, and I just boom, 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 and I still do it. So that's not just a beginner hack.
Nah, and it's a great way for you to mentally go, okay, I'm on to my next block now, right? Let's reset. It's another park run. It's it's a lot of the mental game behind it. Yeah, which, I think is really important. And I think another one that Matt has said a lot before, and I'm going to say it again, is, making sure you don't have an unrealistic goal for your marathon. We spoke about this, I think, last week in a big one of our questions where someone said that they wanted to do a sub 4 for their first marathon with minimal training. And I think, maybe not as realistic as someone who has done a couple of marathons and has the time to train for a time goal. I think, pacing and having a pacing goal and a time goal, I just don't think is really necessary, as Matt's already said. So that was kind of all I wanted to contribute to that.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. Talk us through the wall, Matt. What is the wall? How do we avoid the wall? Everyone
There's
talks
no
about
avoiding
it.
the wall. There's no avoiding the wall. You can minimize the wall. You can't avoid it. You can turn it into like a little hedge that you can jump over. But...
Step.
Yeah, that's it. The wall is just... It's that place where... I'm trying to think of like maybe a different way of explaining, because I've spoken about it a few times. The wall is that place where everything starts to slow down and everything starts to hurt and everything is just making you want to quit. Like everyone's like, it's where you start questioning, like, can I do this? And normally it is somewhere close to your longest run ever. So if like in training, you only got up to 32, probably somewhere around 28 to 32 kilometers, it's going to start to hurt a lot. If you ran maybe 34 or 36, that might extend out a little bit. But generally speaking, it's somewhere high 20s, low 30s. It's where if you didn't get your nutrition right, things start to feel depleted. It's where if you didn't do your strength training, maybe your muscles are starting to break down a little bit and you can feel them starting to burn. Maybe those calves are starting to hurt and you've lost that little bit of pop in your step. It's where... It's just what... Without being a little bit too dramatic, it's where everything that you skipped in training or everywhere you took a shortcut, there is a huge spotlight on it and you go, oh no, I realize I didn't do this properly. And you've just got to be mentally strong enough to go, I understand that I didn't do that. I understand this hurts, but I'm going to keep going and I'm going to get through this. And then your brain just sort of lets go and relaxes. And then, like I said before, it's like, oh, I've got 6Ks. Like, I'm home. Like, I can do a park run. So that's maybe a different way of explaining the wall that I haven't explained it before.
Yeah, you've articulated that perfectly. So that kind of takes us into our next one, which is about mental barriers and the things that nobody kind of warns you about.
Well, what's your experience of the wall, G?
It's funny. I was like, I don't know how else to add to that because that was such a perfect way to talk about the wall.
Let's rather than a generic one, talk about you hit the wall hard in GC 2024.
Yes.
Yeah. Just talk us through like the first person experience.
Okay. Happily. That was the first time I think I truly hit a wall because in my first marathon, I didn't know it was the wall. I just thought it got really hard. And so the last 10Ks, I was just like, this sucks. And I cried and all of that kind of stuff. But GC, the lead up to the wall that I hit was the couple of mistakes, as Matt said, that were spotlighted for me was that I hadn't paced to what I had planned. So I went out way too hot. My heart rate rose. And so I was running a 158 heart rate, which was above what I should have been running. And I felt really good. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm feeling really good. I'm keeping up with a sub 4 pacer. I've got this. Like, this is amazing. And I got to 28 kilometers and my dad handed me a red-Powerade. And I'd never trained with a red-Powerade, but I was like, great, Powerade, electrolytes. Matt said, I've got to have electrolytes, so I'll do that. It wasn't just like an electrolyte. It was a red frickin' Powerade, which is full of sugar. I was not used to it. It hit the bottom of my stomach like an absolute ton of bricks. And by 32, 33 kilometers, I started seeing stars and I thought I was going to pass out. Yeah, I said to Nick, he and I were running together. It was his first marathon and we had agreed that if one of us was really struggling and not going to be able to keep running, we had said, you keep going, we'll be fine kind of thing. And so I said to him, you go. and I had to go to the aid stations and hold on to the table. I walked every aid station from 33. I think at one point I dunked my head in a bucket just because it was so hot. And I was like, I need to wake myself up. And so I tried to just go, okay, what would Matt say? What do I do? And I knew I wouldn't be able to stomach any electrolytes. So I tried to flush my system of the electrolytes that I just had, and I just sculled water. And I actually think that helped me a lot. So I sculled the water and I walked all the aid stations like I had been told was a kind of a good way to keep moving. And I was just like, all right, I've just got to finish this marathon. Forget about my sub 4. I'm just going to go for it and just try and run it out. And so, yeah, I think I had a cup of Coke from a random off the side of the road. He wasn't too impressed that I took the Coke he was trying to give to someone else. So he had a big bottle and I was like, please, I need it. And I think I had a red frog off some child. So
George is just robbing pedestrians at this point.
Literally, I like, obviously, people hand shit out, but I was just like taking stuff left, right and center. And then, yeah, by I think 40 kilometers, I'd finally started to feel good again. So after that, I managed to catch back up to Nick and we ran home to the finish line together. But that is probably my hardest experience of the wall. I would say London Marathon was a wall, but I had a wall there, but the entire race was a wall because I had an injured hip, so completely different story. So, yeah, it's not fun, but I truly believe with what Matt said that it does highlight things that if you've missed things in training or you don't listen to certain things, like that will happen in a race and you will experience it. So, yeah, that's kind of my experience. But, yeah, that's it.
I think perfect. I think it's good to because I put everything through a coaching filter, even if it is my first world experience. But I think it's good for people to hear, I'm just a girl and this is what I went through.
I'm just a baby. That's my favorite saying. Which kind of, and that jumps into what I was saying before about the mental barriers. And, hitting that wall at 33 was really tough because I had planned to finish it with Nick. And so that kind of dream went out the window. And I then had to say, I'm in a different city. I can't contact Nick because I know he's running and he was supposed to be with me, and my family aren't going to be anywhere near me because they were going to be at the finish line. So having to push through that moment of being I see stars and I feel like I'm going to pass out, to be okay, what are some smart decisions I can make in the exact moment that I'm in? And yeah, I think training yourself for those moments when things might go wrong is so important, because mentally to be able to push through something where you're like, oh my God, I just want to pass out on the ground and completely give up. I think is a really good thing to be able to do in a marathon.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Any mental barriers you want to add there that people need to prepare for?
Not so much for the beginner one. I think it's actually the only one I'll add is the post-race blues, which is when you finish that marathon, you ride the super high, but then what goes up must come down, and yeah, that's all mental. So preparing yourself for that, and this is why, sort of going round circle, I was saying focusing on something for 16, 20, 24 weeks, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Yes, it's really, really hard to focus on something for that long, but for the people who can do that, all of a sudden it almost feels like your life has no purpose. You're like, what do I focus on? What's happening? It's really good just to not necessarily have another race, but just have something to focus on. For me, and I'll tell you guys how I do it, is I coordinate a race season with a work season. So I'll right now I'm super focused on UTA, even though it's not going fantastic. But as soon as UTA finishes, I've got 4 or 5 big work projects with the performance project stuff I'm working on with Georgia, Meg, and all these guys, a whole team that we're going to implement for the next 3-4 months. And then I'll go into Ironman WA prep, and then I'm focused on that. So just having that next thing to focus on that isn't necessarily a race, just to, I don't want to say give you purpose, but that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's just to give you something to focus on, give you something to be okay, I am still progressing, because all of us are type A, for the most part, are type A personalities. We need those goals. We need those objective measures that we are chasing. and you can't always chase races. So that would be my only other mental thing to prepare for.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is just, there's a lot that happens after the race as well. I just want to add, like, let yourself feel the emotions of race day as well. Like, it's okay to feel nervous. And from experience, it's okay to cry after the race too. Like, I think I've cried after every marathon because every single marathon has been such a personal, emotional, and physical challenge. So, feel the feels. I still get teary thinking about finish lines. So enjoy that moment. I think that's such a special moment within yourself that you can really take where you let yourself cry if you need to. Like, it's such a big achievement. So yeah. All right, cool. Number 10 I've got here is race week for beginners. So what is some advice, that you would give people for their first ever marathon race week?
Nothing new.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. This is not the time to go. This is not the time to come up with some crazy idea and you're like, what would be a fantastic, something I've never trained.
Doing something stupid?
Yeah. This is not the time for new shoes. This is not the time to be like, you know what? Let's try out that new restaurant the night before. Like, definitely not.
What did you call it last week? A cowboy carb load.
Cowboy carb load. Don't cowboy carb load. I think go back and listen. We did a whole episode on this. I think calm the fuck down or something like that. What was it called, G?
Oh yeah. Good shout. It was right before Sydney Marathon.
Yeah, the lead up to Sydney Marathon. Go listen to that episode. We did a whole episode on just race week. That'll sum it up way better than I could do in a few sentences. So there's a whole episode there. If race week is what you're concerned about, go and listen to that. But I would say nothing new. Keep as calm as possible. It's okay to feel nervous. If you have a coach, talk to your coach about it. That's what they're there for. And just enjoy it because like G said from the start, like you only get one. You only get one debut. You only get one first marathon, Ironman, whatever it might be. So just enjoy it, embrace it because it'll be over before you know it.
Perfect. Articulated very well. And as Matt said, jump back to that episode. If you're trying to find it, I don't have the number right on me now, but look for George's sub 4 and it's just a couple episodes before that. So really, really good one. And then race day game plan. I've written here just a couple of notes that I've written just from past experience is start slow, don't take off too fast. You do get caught up in the adrenaline of race morning. So don't be doing 4-minute, well, just for me, say, for example, don't be doing 4-minute kilometers down the hill at the first K when you should be doing a 5:40, not an ideal way to start a race. Take your gels early when you start to feel good. Even like when you are feeling good, don't wait until you feel like shit to have your gels, and that does come down to making sure you train your gels and make sure you know exactly when to take them. Don't feel like you can get away with not drinking any water. Make sure you drink your water. Be really strict with it. Grab 2 cups if you need to, because if you're prone to spilling your water on yourself halfway through, make sure you're getting enough water in the system. And then my last piece of advice for race day is to break up the race into sections, and whether that is, you've got a coach who can help you break it up for you, or if you're doing that yourself, make sure, mentally, I think that's a really helpful one, is to break it up into sections so that you can work through each section individually.
That's a proud coach moment, Georgia, because I can't add anything to that.
Ah, yes. Aw,
yeah. So
bless.
did
you say you were proud of me?
I did, yeah. That was everything I would have said. And I think it's everything we did for your first marathon, for your sub 4, excuse me.
Yeah.
I will give people a slight little bit of context for a couple of them. For all of our TPP athletes, the first 2Ks, we prescribe below race pace. Let the adrenaline settle, let the crowd sort of, in that first 2Ks, you can get caught up, like when your wave goes, you can get caught up in the crowd. We're just going to let them go, let it space out. So don't be afraid to drop below race pace just for a little bit. It'll also allow your heart rate to settle too, because it'll be quite high when you first start. Fuel early and often. That's like the mantra that we use. So what G said, but I think that's just really easy. Fuel early and often. Breaking it up into segments. So we'll often do 4x9K or something like that. And we'll have a couple of different things within that, including the 2K warm up. And then this is just a bit of fun that we do at TPP, but we always have a 2K send it at the end. So whatever you got left in the tank, drop that 2.2K, drop the hammer. So a couple of different things in there. And that's it. Everything else Georgia nailed.
Yeah, it just came to my mind now while you were talking about the fuel early and often. If you guys struggle to remember or to keep track of your fueling or whatever it might be, like you might be getting caught up in the race and not looking at your watch as much as you'd hope. If you have a Garmin, you can actually set up a fueling reminder so you can have your watch beep at you at certain intervals. So for me, I set that up every 5 kilometers with the pace that I was running. That worked out to be the right amount of time. So instead of having my watch beep at me for every single kilometer and freak me the hell out, I turned that off and just had it beep every 5 kilometers. And then I knew personally when that beeped, I looked down at my watch, great, there's another 5 kilometers. One, it helped me break it up into sections and I'm not overwhelmed by looking at my watch every kilometer. But it also reminded me that, oh shit, okay, I've got to have fuel now because my watch has just beeped. So I really found that helpful. And, you know, whatever that kilometer is that you should be having your fuel at doesn't have to be 5 kilometers, but that really worked for me.
My only rebuttal to that, only small, is go based off time. Because if you start to blow out, if things start to go wrong, that 5K could take 40 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden your nutrition your nutrition depletion is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I would be like, if it normally takes me 25 minutes to run a 5K, I'd set the timer for 25 minutes versus 5K. That way you're staying on top of it based on time versus distance.
Come to think of it, you're probably right. You would have told me that. And mine probably was set up for every 30 minutes or whatever it was, 25 minutes. But
yeah,
we
were also assuming that like you were sticking to if you were sticking to a certain pace range and like whereas obviously with Georgia sub-4, like she was sticking to 540s like clockwork.
Yeah.
So then you could, like, we know how long it's going to take a 5K. If it is your first one and things could fluctuate quite dramatically, you could run a 30, a 25, a 27. That all those different discrepancies will add up over the course of a marathon. So for your first couple,
yes,
just go off time, 20 to 30 minutes, somewhere in that window, you'll be fine.
Listen to Matt. That's good advice. Okay, cool. And so I just want to wrap things up with what your personal thoughts are on what a successful marathon looks like.
For a beginner or just for me?
No, I think for a beginner.
Consistency. If you can run your first K at the same pace as I won't say the last K, as you could run the 40th K, so you can do your 2K full send. I think that's super impressive. It's one of the things I drum into my athletes from the start. It's like, I don't care how quickly you run the first 5 or 10 or 35. I care how you finish. If you're running 5 minutes 40 per K for your first K, I want to see that at kilometer 25. I want to see it at kilometer 30. I want to see it at kilometer 40. I do not want to see you run a 4:10 and then a 5:50 and then a 4:30 and then a 5:20. Like, I don't want to see that. I want to see 5:40, 5:40, 5:40, 5:40, 5:40, like clockwork. Like, that's what I want to see. So for me, it is all about consistency.
Yeah, I love that because the moment I kind of knew you were proud of me for my sub-4 was when you spoke on the doco that you guys can go back and watch if you want. It's on our YouTube for the Performance Project. But Matt talked about how I had nailed every split down to a T pretty much. And you were like, I'm so proud of how like consistent she was in keeping her timing really, consistent, I guess. I was running like 5:37s the whole way. And I didn't feel like it at the time. I didn't feel like I was being that consistent, but all of that training and all of that hard work really made me consistent. And I love that. That is one of my proudest moments in a marathon, is being able to successfully run it at a very consistent pace. But I've just noted this down myself when I was thinking about this, and I said, success isn't always about a time. Success is finishing strong, fueling well, pacing well, and enjoying the race.
Yep.
So, I really want you guys to go out there and enjoy your first marathon, because if you enjoy your first marathon, you're going to want to run more, and then you're going to have fun and you're going to love it as much as we do. So, yeah.
For sure. And I'll add to that too, G, is like, obviously mine was probably more time-based, my thoughts on what a good marathon is. I think everyone has gone through this experience, whether it is a project at work or something you did, like a test at school or whatever. You truly know if you went all in and like you studied for it or you did all the work, and like, that feeling of I had nothing left to give. If you cross that finish line, you're like I had nothing left to give. Like, that is a successful marathon block. Whether you walked all 42 Ks or you did it in 2 hours flat, like, you truly, like, only you know that feeling, and that's like no one else can make that judgment other than you.
Yeah, finishing the race with absolutely no regrets, having fun, and just, as Matt said, send the last 2Ks, because if you've had a really great race, last 2Ks are going to be so much fun, and you can cross that finish line, tears in your eyes. You're going to be so proud of yourself. It's going to be the best thing you've ever done. So, yeah, that is kind of all of our advice for a beginner marathon. Matt, do you have anything last you want to add to that, either as Matt yourself or as Coach Matt?
No, I was actually really happy with that episode. I think we nailed just about everything.
Good. I'm glad. Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. This has been episode 64 and part 2 of our beginner marathon series. Make sure you head over to Instagram and follow us at beyondthefishline_pod. Head over to wherever you get your podcasts and make sure you like, subscribe, download, leave us a review. We'd be so grateful. And if you'd like to hear more about coaching, be coached by Coach Matt or Coach Anthony, head over to theperformanceproject.com.au. We would love to help you out. You can be a part of our wonderful, wonderful community, and we can talk all about marathons even more. Have a wonderful week, guys, and we will talk to you next time.
Hooroo.
Bye.
That was mad.